For the last-minute changes, Nigerians would have started paying a higher fee for electricity from today, the 1st of July 2020. The leadership of the National Assembly halted this move, saying a hike in electricity tariff must be deferred till the first quarter of next year. And this said, while the increase in tariff was necessary, the timing was bad. The electricity distribution companies have agreed to suspend the planned increase in the electricity tariff after a meeting with the National Assembly leadership. Joining me now via Skype is the Executive Director, Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, Sunday Odunton. Mr. Odunton, it's good to have you join me this morning. The issue of electricity has been on for so many years, and we've been talking about this in the last few years as well. Now, one would say that it should have been a given for your association and DISCOs to even to understand that the timing of a tariff increase shouldn't have been now due to COVID-19. What do you say?
Well, thank you very much. We are a very sensitive industry, and we also understand the feelings and the yearnings of Nigerians. But when it comes to the issue of tariff, I think Nigerians need to understand how the system works. Number one, the fixing of tariff, approval of tariff, timing or commencement date of any tariff adjustment is the statutory responsibility of our regulator, NEC. So all they ask us to do, we will normally have to submit our proposal, then they will look at it, and then they take the final decision on whether or not there will be an upward or downward adjustment depending on the macroeconomic indices in the country at the time. So the issue of 1st of July, of course, was exclusively a decision of our regulator. But we also have to show understanding towards the regulator, because the situation that we find ourselves today in the power sector is very, very dire. We have huge shortfall going on, and it's piling up every day. Even now with the suspension, I'd like Nigerians to just know that whether the commencement will be next month, next year, 2 years' time, somebody still have to pay for that electricity, and somebody must take care of the shortfall that's piling up every day. So we are not oblivious of how Nigerians feel and the effect of COVID-19. To also remind you, a while ago, we came out in conjunction with the National Assembly, the DISCOs, we came out to suggest to the federal government that we should give Nigerians electricity, free electricity for 2 months. Of course, to be paid by the federal government, because we are just selling other people's products. Oja Oloja Lanta in Yoruba language, which means we are selling other people's products. We are distributors. But that didn't happen because I believe the federal government could not afford it, considering the fact that the federal government revenue has actually gone down due to the cost of crude oil worldwide. Again, that shows you that we're very sensitive.
All right. Now, Sunday, let me interrupt you a little bit, because you have talked about the issue of being sensitive to the plight of Nigerians. But Nigerians don't think the same way, because the point there is, even the Minister of Power has said that if the power doesn't improve, if the system doesn't improve, that there can't be tariff hike. So one would interpret that as being very insensitive if there is no improvement in power supply, and then there is the talk about the increment in tariff. What do you say?
Mike, I think it has come to the point that every educated person in Nigeria should take maybe 30 minutes every month to read up about the power sector, to know the meaning of the value chain, to know how the system works. These are things that anybody can, a high school person, can even find out about all of this on the internet, because every time people talk about power sector and look at the woes in the power sector and place everything on the feet of the DISCOs, I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised because the DISCOs are distributors. They have to distribute a product that has been produced at a cost, transported to them at a cost, and the availability of that product depends on the quantum that is being produced. Then efficiency, as you talk about, whether or not you say we are not doing well enough, of course we are not doing well enough. But all of these have a lot of link to the issue of pricing. You cannot be underselling a product and you expect there to be efficiency. Let's face it, it is either we all agree that something needs to be done, or we keep on deceiving ourselves, go around the country, talk is cheap. We can talk like this for the next 5 years and you still not have the electricity in your home. So I think let's talk about how we can get electricity in our home and the need for people to pay for electricity. Go and check other countries around us, Senegal, Ghana, Benin Republic, how much are they paying for electricity? Of course, we know that what we have is very, very low compared with our population. And that's one of the problems that we have. So please, always think about production, transportation, before you talk about distribution.
Yeah, but the point there is, Sunday, the point there is, when it comes to the production and transmission and all of that, these are all technical things that Nigerians certainly would not have time to look into the nitty-gritties of what it takes to bring lights to their homes. They are ready to pay. They are only saying that, give us light and then we will pay for it. Unless that takes us to the issue of prepaid meters that have not been made available for a lot of Nigerians. And there are companies within Nigeria that are able to produce Nigeria-made electricity meters, whom your company is not patronizing as much as possible. What do you say to that?
First of all, I take exception to your last sentence. Again, Mike, my dear friend, please go back and read up on this thing. The local meter manufacturers are our partners and friends because we always collaborate with them, we patronize them. Where we are today is different from where we were in 2014. And you need to get and put it in content. Number one, let's us make it clear, and I've said this over and over again, discos are no more directly in charge of metering. Metering has been taken out from the hand of the discos. So if we are only ordered to work with meter asset providers, a creation of the federal government through our regulator, how then can you blame us if there are no meters? But let me tell you about meters. The people who are now in charge of meters, the meter asset providers, the problem they're having today is the same problem that we had when we were only able to do 88% of the target that we were given in the first 5 years of the privatization. Number one, Nigerians need meters. We have so many people, so many households, in excess of 4 million who are not metered. Now, when you say you want the country to be metered, how come the same federal government has imposed a 35% import duty on meters for these guys? These guys want to bring in meters, and for the local manufacturers too, you need to also understand that meters are produced in Nigeria, but not all the components are produced in Nigeria until Ajaokuta is 100% up and running. Those components that are imported by these local meter manufacturers, the federal government is charging them between 10 and 15% duty on each of the components. And a prepaid meter, a three-phase prepaid meter, needs between 7 and 9 of these imported components for that meter to work. So when you put all of this together, 7 or 9 components in one single meter, 10% or 50% import duty, put it all together, is even cheaper to even import than to produce. So we are not even encouraging these local meter manufacturers.
Well, Sunday, the point there is that there are players that certainly will not agree with you on that, because we have known some companies in Nigeria that have produced from the scratch to finish electricity meters in Nigeria. In fact, in Lagos State, for instance, there are companies here who are able to produce the electricity meters from start to finish. And what Nigerians are saying is that that should have been explored before the idea of importing any other kind of meter into this country.
Mike, let me repeat for clarity. I think it's time for you to invite the local meter manufacturers on your program. We should not misinform Nigerians. Let me repeat again, no meter manufacturers manufacture the whole thing without buying a single component or a single chip from abroad. I'm saying that there are some components that they import. Between Ogun State and Lagos State, there are at least 2 major patriotic Nigerians manufacturing meters. But I'm talking about the problem that they have, But I think it's time for you to bring them onto the program, ask them that specific question. We know you manufacture this thing 100% here, but are there some electronic components that you have to import? If the answer is yes, do you pay any duty on them? If the answer is yes, then Analyst will be vindicated. We are talking about something that is needed, and you're saying some players will not agree with me. Bring on the players. I said these people are bleeding. They are bleeding financially. They are not able. There are bidders at the port as I speak, which are yet to be cleared, because between the Federal Ministry of Power and Federal Ministry of Finance, who supervises the custom, some people are not talking to one another. Why should you impose such heavy levy on components that these guys need to complete the manufacture of the meters? So please, let's get the facts right. I'm not speaking for them.
Now, the point there is, Sunday, I agree with you that Nigerians should not be misinformed on this, because I can tell you authoritatively that we have done reports on some companies that have done or manufactured electricity meters from start to finish in Nigeria. And I believe that if your agency or your company or your association wants to have access to them, we can make that available as well. And I believe that will go a long way to making Nigerians understand and appreciate what is on ground. Now, that takes us to the issue of what the way forward should be now. Because as it is, Nigerians still want light as much as they wanted 10 years ago and all of that. And that is still not being provided. What do you think is the single way forward right now?
The way forward is for everybody who is involved in providing solution to the problem of the power sector to play their role. Number one, federal government. There has to be policy and regulatory consistency from the side of federal government. And then the federal government agencies, like ministry, department and agencies, agencies, the MDAs, should begin to pay their bill. If federal government agencies are not even paying as they should be, then that is a problem on its own. The military and other agencies. That's one side. We, the operators too, we need to be more efficient, we need to be more sensitive, and we need to do what we are required to do. That's number two. The third party in all of this problem are the Nigerian people themselves. We need to stop stealing energy. We need to learn to have the orientation to be paying our bills. Let me tell you something that will make Nigerians know that the moment Nigerians start paying the appropriate pricing of the product, you get the service. And I'll give you just a few examples. Where you are, TVC, are under Ikeja, where you are under Ikeja Electric. Magodo Estate, Shonibari Estate, Ikeja GRA, and a host of others, not less than 11 of them now, are on board of a program what we call willing buyer, willing seller, premium customers. These are people that are ready to pay extra, and now we go and buy premium from the producers to sell to them specially. And today, most of them have almost 24 hours of electricity. Some of your colleagues in TVC live in those places. These are things you can find out. It's not rocket science.
All right. So are you saying, Sunday, so are you saying that all Nigerians should pay extra to have electricity or constant electricity? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that all Nigerians should be ready to pay the appropriate price, which is a price that reflects the cost of production. If the landing cost is 80 naira, for instance, and you're only paying 24 naira, Mike, you won't get that light. Forget it. We should stop deceiving ourselves, and we should not mislead ourselves. Go to Magodo, go to Shonibari Estate, go to Ikeja GRA, ask the question.
Yeah, but there are still people. Because the point there is, just like you mentioned places, Magodo and all of that, we also still have people within those places who are running on generators. So how do we reconcile that?
Go and find out why they are running generator. If they are part of this premium program I'm talking about, the minimum they will have in a day is 18 hours non-stop. Go and find out. These are things I expect your reporters to do. Go and do comparison and comparative analysis. Go and check from where we give these premium customers electricity and where people are still paying 24 naira or 31 naira per kilowatt hour, as against those who are paying 58, 68, or 70 naira per kilowatt hour. So it's about cost of production. It's about landing cost. It's about us knowing that electricity is a product. So I gave you those examples for you to know that if the pricing is right, both the generation companies, transmission companies, and the discos will give Nigerians electricity. This is not just about discos. I'm talking about the whole value chain, because what we are talking about is not about discos. Enough of blaming Iyamulika, the bread seller, when there are no bread available at the bakery. Iyamulika, the bread seller at Ojodubaga, is not the owner of the bakery. Let us put things in perspective. Unless and until we are ready to pay more, there will not be more electricity. Simple.
All right. Now, the Minister of Power has said that unless services improve, tariffs cannot increase. So I guess it is whether it's the egg before the hen or the hen before the egg, whichever. And we have our in-house analyst as well, Obani Akinwale, joining me in the studio. Nii, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you join.
Same here.
Great, great. Now, Sunday, let me start with you here. The NERC, or NERC as it is called, you issued out a statement recently, a few days ago, criticizing the reason why they had to send you a message, or there was a message, a correspondent to you saying that they shouldn't be mentioned in the issue of incrementing tariffs. And from your report to the media, which was published a few days ago, criticized them for that stance. Talk to us basically why that is. Why does there seem to be a disagreement between the NERC, which is the regulatory body, and yours?
We do not have any disagreement with NAC, okay. NERC.
All right.
What we just did was simply telling them to take ownership of their statutory role. Because Nigerians, as we are, sometimes, even on social media, people seem to misunderstand and have a lot of misconception about the way the industry is structured. We are discos. We are market participants. We are down below the value chain. Some people don't even know that there's a value chain. Anything that happens to their electricity, disco is guilty. So in the case of the correspondent, what happened was that by law, NEC is in charge of tariff review. So they check the tariff, they ask the disco to submit proposal. Once we submit that, they will look at it. They can review it upward, downward, but they will eventually have to approve it. So they are the one that approve tariff, and they are the one that shoot the timing and the commencement day of that tariff. They are the one that do that. So in this case, knowing the problem in the country, knowing how people feel at this moment, okay, they choose to fix the commencement date for 1st of July 2020. But they now send us a letter. In your communication with your customers, please, under no circumstances, should you mention NAC or the federal government. That was shocking to us. We were taken aback. We were surprised that we still have that kind of thing going on in this country at this time in this century. Because we believe that if a mother gives birth, if a mother gives birth to a child, you cannot tell the midwife not to mention the name of the mother, or we don't want the world to know who the mother is. NEC is the mother of the power sector. And we have 3 siblings. They have 3 children: generation companies, transmission, and distribution companies. We are siblings of the same mother. The father is President Buhari, but the mother is NEC. Why should the mother say, don't let people know that I'm there? I was the one that gave birth to this child. We are not bastards.
All right, Sunday, we'll come to you shortly. Let me bring in Nii here. Now, the point there is, a lot of persons have criticized discos, and the fact that disco is according to the chain, because Sunday is talking about the value chain, certainly from generation to transmission to distribution. But distribution is the one that has the interface with the people directly, as it is, at least as at now. They have called for bailout at different times, and government had bailed them out at different times, but there hasn't been justification for that from the eyes of Nigerians, who what they want is electricity supply in their homes.
Let me first thank Chief Oduton for doing a wonderful job as a spokesperson of the discourse. But I know in the heart of his heart, he knows he's not being sincere with himself.
How is that?
If at the moment Nigeria is generating about 7,000, if our capacity we can carry about 7,000 megawatts, and our discos are only willing to evacuate about 3,000 plus or 4,000 megawatts, and you have more than 80% of households unmetered in Nigeria, what actually tells you is that we have a capacity that we are generating that we are not using. That is one. Two, if Mr. Oduton will be sincere and as a Nigerian will know that at this moment in time, most companies are either cutting salaries or downsizing. Now, which shows that the purchasing power of people has drastically gone down. Not only that, some people have not worked for almost 3-4 months because of this lockdown. Hotels are not working, clubhouses are not working, churches are shut down and what have you, which shows that people's purchasing power has drastically gone to zero. Now, I feel it is very, very unfair. It is very saddening for any crop of organization to come now to say they are increasing the tariff of electricity. Why? First, you have not provided people with a service. Two, you have not metered every house. Three, the service you are providing is epileptic. Four, the amount of power generated you cannot distribute. Five, you are unable to map out your distribution areas. Let me give you an example of Ikeja Electric Disco, which falls under this area. Ikeja Electric has not been able to meter every facility in this area. Now you find out that most people that are on this area, they are people that live on daily income, which has been affected because your purchasing power, my purchasing power has gone down. I think it's inhuman for anybody or any company to think at this point in time that you are putting up the tariff. And if we can be sincere with ourselves, the government has been giving bailouts to these power institutions to do this, to do that. Why don't we make effort on improving on our distribution network? Before they took over these discos as private organizations, they know what is obtainable. You know the network you are buying. You know what's available there. So why should you labor people that are already over-impoverished? Look at the population of people that are jobless now. About 34 million are jobless. And yet you want these people to increase the tariff. I think this is unfair. This is uncalled for. And if Mr. Oduton wants to talk as a Nigerian rather than as a director of the Association of Discos, he knows that how much he's spending before the COVID, how much he's earning after COVID, and now to belabor people with additional fee, this is not fair.
All right. Although as it is right now, the call to increase tariff from the 1st of July has been, has been postponed. So it stands as it is right now.
Even before the call was called, let this coast force meter all houses. Let this coast be able to evacuate all the values from the Genco.
Yeah,
can they evacuate it? They are rejecting power from the Genco.
Sunday Oduton will not agree with you on that.
They are not evacuating power.
So Sunday, you are here because when I spoke with you, you said that Nigerians should pay for electricity and they will get the service.
Okay. First of all, I think my dear brother there in the studio, I understand his frustration. I know how he feels. But let me say, first of all, that I'm very, very sincere. And you can find out about me. When I walk anywhere, I think about the future. So it's not about if I want to be sincere as a Nigerian. I'm a neighbor man, and I will say it as it is. So first, my brother made the point when he was talking about discourse not being able to weigh more than 3,000 megawatts. I think he need to understand he shouldn't be jumping from Genco to Disco. There's a body between Genco and Disco called Transmission Company of Nigeria, wholly owned by the federal government. And let me just go to a recent report by Siemens. Siemens is a German company that is coming to Nigeria to invest in the sector. In the Siemens report, Siemens made it very clear that whatever is generated or available, that the transmission company of Nigeria is the weakest link. They cannot do more than 5,000 megawatts at a time. They cannot sustain it. That the discos can actually distribute 11,000 megawatts of electricity in Nigeria. That report was not written by us. I think my brother needs to advise his mind to that. He needs to go and read that.
So that we can
get it right. The second one. Let me finish. Please let me finish.
Let him finish. Allow him to land. Go ahead, Sunday. Go ahead, Sunday.
Please. Now you should understand that I'm also a customer of a disco. So if you are my neighbor, if you don't have light, I won't have light. So the issue of capacity of the value chain, everybody can check that one up. And I'm not saying the discos are doing well enough. I said this morning on this program earlier that the discos are also not efficient enough. That's number one. Number two, I think my brother too in the studio ought to at least have a bit of knowledge of what is going on before coming on air to talk to Nigerians. I'm surprised that he is talking about metering and still saying that about discos. Okay, I'll give him the information. Discos are no more in charge of metering. That has been taken off our hands over 2 years ago. And those who are metering now, they are called meter asset provider. We work under them, we work with them. They are our friends. We want them to succeed. We want meters like yesterday. So the issue of metering should not be politicized. It's either we understand what we're saying or we don't understand it. What we're saying is that those meter asset providers, and they are banned. They're in Lagos there. There's one along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. There are loads in Lagos. We have local meter manufacturers who have to import some components, and I'll tell my brother, 9 components are required, imported components, to manufacture a 3-phase meter, small chips. Those chips, they have to pay between 10 and 15% import duty on them. For those who import whole meter into the country, they have to pay 35% import duty. That's why those guys are not performing. We want meters more than anybody else, because for every home where we install meters, when we were still in charge of meters, and I'm surprised that my brother here, an analyst, does not even know that we're no more in charge of meters. In those homes where there are prepaid meters, we have revenue assurance. It is in our interest for there to be meters.
Okay.
All
right, Sunday.
Network expansion, network renewal, yes, it is important, but you need to go back and read up and know that that is tied up to tariff.
All right, Sunday.
Yes. No, let me finish.
Okay,
Arrival CapEx is important, and I think your commentators should come to the program with fact, figure, and statistics instead of blaming just one leg of the value chain.
All right, thank you very much, Sunday. But I said earlier, too, that we have done a report of companies that are doing or manufacturing meters from start to finish within the country. But Neil, let me come to you on this.
I like you for telling us that information, but I will tell you without missing word that the guy sitting in front of the camera here is a certified member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and a current engineer, certified. And I tell you that in December 2019, November to be specific, at the Nigerian Society of Engineers conference in Kano, the TCN chairman came there and he said, let's give an example of Jigawa, Kano, that requires about 1,000 megawatts, and they will be given 700 megawatts because the discos are rejecting power. Sir, you can check your books. The discos are rejecting power, and the TCN man continue to say this, and at every point in time when we have a system collapse, the problem is that the request based on production is below capacity. So, sir, when you are also talking on air, it's also important that you find out the particular of the person on air. Discos reject load from the GenCos. That is one. On the issue of TCN, TCN has capacity to carry about 7,000 megawatts. As of today, your disco associations are unable to ask for load of up to that. And what are they saying? Customers are not paying. People are not metered. If you recall vividly, sir, before the asset management, before the meters thing was removed from disco, it was originally left for you guys to do. But because you refuse to do it, and there is gap between you supplying meter to the users, that was when the government now look for, well, okay, let us privatize this sector and let people come in to manage the system. And again, I put to you as a consumer, for over 6 months, I as a consumer, I've gone to one of the discos to request for a meter box, to request for the recharge box. Up till now, I've not been metered. Every time I need to do my recharge, I need to call your officers to come. So, sir, when you read textbook things to us, know as us as Nigerians that we are the ones using these services. And I am telling you that check with your discos that how many times have they reject load from the TCN? What is the capacity of GenCos? What is capacity of TCN? What load are you receiving in all your discos in Nigeria? So you agree with me that it is very untrue. It is unfair for you to have said that, no, the capacity supplied is... Are we consuming what we are producing? Is the TCN capacity available for you? Is what you are using? Absolutely no. You need to check your record. We don't need to come on here and be reading textbook to everybody. And again, sir, let me also remind you that the consumer you are talking about metering there, you want to provide something with the supply. You give a company to provide meter. In the heart of your heart, how many consumers have been able to walk into your map distribution companies and been able to pick meters at a go? If I buy a SIM card, I'm able to walk into a shop and buy a mobile phone. Can I have that for your service? Right. Am I supposed to be worried about that? And here you are telling us that, oh, the person needs to go and... It is not about the person. It's about the quality of service you are offering and your capacity as a company.
All right, Neil, let me put you on hold and go to Sunday. Sunday, you mentioned the Siemens earlier on. And they are just coming on board from the report and the president trying to bring them in. The magic wand to giving us the electricity, especially talking from the perspective of capacity, do you think Siemens is the one who has that magic wand to building the capacity that can generate or guarantee electricity?
Well, before I talk about Siemens magic, I think I need to make it clear that, number one, I'm very happy that my brother there has finally accepted, just in less than 2 minutes, that indeed discos are no more in charge of metering. Thank you for accepting that. It shows that at least you can reverse yourself. But that is one. Number two, to base your assumption of TCN being able to evacuate 7,000 megawatts because a TCN man, as you said, you even said TCN chairman. There's no TCN chairman.
What we had, the man that was just removed.
When we finish,
if you said TCN man.
No, I said TCN boss, not chairman. Yeah. Please correct that, sir.
You can replace your video. Now, I'm saying the person you had then was TCN MDC CEO, the former TCN MDC.
Yes, he said that severally.
He knew
and you have never debunked it as a disco. You have never debunked it as a disco.
Let me finish, Oga. Let me say my own.
All right, sir.
I kept quiet when you were talking.
Okay.
We debunk it that he lied, and if he had been truthful, he would have still be on his job. We are not his employer.
That's not fair.
Don't let us personalize it.
You don't say that.
Look, if the man did not lie, and go back on Google, check it out, TCN have never evacuated 7,000 megawatts. But I'm not going to be here. We are not interested in name blaming. We have new management now managing TCN, and we believe that they will do it better. The problem with the sector requires every participant in the market to work together, to collaborate, to stop name blaming. And discos have not been efficient enough. I've said that a countless time. I'm not here to engage in propaganda. But people, whether you are certified or not, whether you are Korean certified or not, has nothing to do with facts, figures, and statistics that we can see.
You have to improve on your efficiency.
So Sunday, because Sunday we don't have all the time.
You just said you are not efficient.
Gentlemen, we don't have all the time right now.
Please improve on your efficiency before you increase the tariff. It's very important.
Sunday, because we don't have all the time right now. The question I asked earlier, Sunday.
Improve on your efficiency, sir.
I will answer your question.
Yes.
I will answer your question.
Because you have to go straight now because we don't have time.
In one sentence, let me say, discos are not the one fixing tariff. If my brother there is angry with tariff issue, go to NAC. You should know where to go to lay off. Now, Siemens is a German company, and they are equipment manufacturers, and they are coming with equipment, and as of now, the modalities for details of what they are going to do is still being worked out by the federal government. So nobody, not even the federal government, can say exactly what will happen, how it will happen, until they finalize their discussion. But they have done their report, and I asked my brother in the studio, go back and check what they found in terms of what the discos and TCN and GENCOs can do. Enough of just finding a scapegoat.
There is no scapegoat anywhere.
All right. The point there is, from the reports we got from, in fact, if you see the Siemens report, the detailed report, there are even time frames as to what should
incremental increase in terms of transmission.
Exactly.
Yes, it's there.
And the government has communicated to people as to what will happen at what time and at what time.
Absolutely.
What do you make of this?
I think, without taking away the fact that we do not have the capacity of transmission lines below what we are generating, and the government has signed contracts with Siemens to ensure that we increase the capacity in our transmission, which is the only chain in between. But again, like he mentioned, even if we increase the capacity to 11,000 meg and what have you, the inefficiency at the disco will still be a problem. Because even in Lagos, you have areas where you don't have electric poles. So you ask yourself, even in the urban area in Lagos, there are areas that are not metered. So if that continues to happen, if the distribution network is not properly managed, we will have the best of TCN, we will have the best of GENCO, but the end user, where we're going to evacuate to the last mile, we are going to have that problem. And that's why he said, I love the word he said. He said, he still agrees that there is inefficiency in the disco. And being a director, they should please work on that inefficiency rather than unnecessarily laboring Nigeria. All right. They're already over-labored.
Okay, we have to leave it here now. Obani Akinwale, thank you so much for your time on the program. Sunday Odunton, we want to commend you for your time on the program. Thank you very much for your insight as well. Thank you.